Suffering Loving Messiah, 24th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. Jesus, in today's Gospel passage, asks Peter, "Who do you say that I am?" Peter replies, "You are the Christ." The word Christ comes from the Greek word Christos, which means the anointed. This word is a translation of the Hebrew word Messiah, which likewise means anointed. The Old Testament identifies a number of people who are specially anointed by God, including a non-Israelite, the Persian king Cyrus, who in the 530s BC allowed the Jewish people to return to their homeland. When Jesus taught his disciples how he is anointed by God, how he is a Messiah in a different way than all other Messiahs that preceded him, he instructed them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly, be killed, and rise. Jesus, therefore, is a Messiah as the Son of Man. What does this mean? What does being a Messiah as the Son of Man mean? The terminology Son of Man in this Gospel passage is a reference to chapter 7 from the book of Daniel. Here, the prophet Daniel describes a vision of seeing someone like a Son of Man, coming down from heaven on clouds to establish an everlasting kingdom on earth. Jesus fulfilled this role by being like a Son of Man, by descending from heaven to be born with the human nature in Bethlehem, without losing his divinity. One day Jesus promises that he will return to heaven by rising from the dead after 3 days. However, before Jesus returns to his divine home, he will be rejected and will be killed. Upon hearing Jesus saying that he must suffer and even be killed prior to rising in glory, Peter takes Jesus aside and rebukes him. In other words, Peter takes God aside in the person of Jesus and tells God that you are wrong and you must change your ways. I know better. With this rebuke, Peter forgot a simple truth. God is God and I am not he. Because this is true, God's ways are not my ways. Sometimes God's ways do not make sense to me. They do not make sense to us. This does not mean God's ways are irrational against reason. On the contrary, God's ways are supra-rational. They are immanently rational. They surpass, complete, and fulfill our human reason in a way that at times we cannot understand. In accordance with human reason, Peter did not want Jesus to be rejected and to die. Surely, reasoned Peter, there must be another way for Jesus to be glorified. In addition, since Peter was not simply a believer in Jesus, but also a disciple who followed Jesus' ways and did what Jesus did, Peter did not want to take Jesus' road to glorification, which entailed rejection and being killed. In divine anger, Jesus then rebukes Peter and even calls Peter Satan, ha Satanas, because God's ways are not man's ways, and God directs us. We do not direct God. A main difference between God's ways and ours is that God is infinitely patient. Patient comes from the Latin verb pati, meaning to suffer. When we call someone patient, therefore, we are describing someone, a person who is willing to suffer because this person has so much love for those they want to change their ways, those they're caring for. In contrast, someone who is impatient, not patient, is someone who refuses to suffer. In other words, refuses to love the other and instead wants quick results from the other, as Peter wanted quick results by insisting that Jesus be glorified right away and not patiently undergo suffering, rejection, and death on the cross prior to rising gloriously from the dead. Lord Jesus, grant us the gift of patience so as to love as you do. God bless.